this is NJ, your host on this channel, continuing our discussion on understanding the different houses of our astrological chart. In this video, we will try to understand the importance, signification of the ninth house and what kind of results you can expect if you will find your ninth house lord's placement in different houses. So friends, to begin with, definitely ninth house is one of the most auspicious, prominent and Lakshmi Sthan which you cannot afford to be in a bad state in your life. This house has got so much power that it can actually counteract any negativity present in your life. So if you want to understand its features, so definitely this is the house of religion. Everything which has to do with religion, like your attitude towards religion, how much faith and how much firm you are in your religious austerities, how much time you take out for prayers, any sort of pilgrimages which you have taken. So everything which has to do with religion, with divinity is attached with the ninth house. Ninth house has also to do with all sort of mentorship, all sort of mentors, advisors, good counsel which we will receive in life. Friends, all those people who have a prominent ninth house, it's not like that you need a physical guru in your life. Definitely we need a guidance of a guru. This is the house of the guru and the spiritual significance and all those people with spiritual powers. But along with that, if you have a prominent ninth house, you have a prominent Jupiter and Ketu and moon is not afflicted, so you can actually become a medium, a conduit to absorb and imbibe all sort of inspiration, all sort of epiphanies, all sort of realization which can happen, where even nature, the Prakriti in itself can guide you, can motivate you, can inspire you. But yes, this house has also to do with all sort of guru and the kind of grace and which will flow in our life through the guidance of our gurus. This house has also to do with all sort of higher knowledge, like the way I said, whether you can take it in a spiritual or religious way, in a philosophical way, but also in the form of all those people who do MBAs, who do PhDs and who have got good qualifications. So higher qualification, higher studies are also seen from the ninth house. Friends, ninth house is also a house of long distance foreign travel as well. All those people, whether you can take up the form of a leisure travel or your work related travel or your nature of work or your family, your business makes you travel a lot. So all sort of long distance foreign travels are also seen from the ninth house. Friends, ninth house also tells about your character in this regard, that this house has got all sort of goodness hidden in it. Like all those people who are very compassionate, who are very forgiving, who have a very charitable nature, who always look at a bigger and broader way of life, of situation, rather than getting bogged down, holding up resentment, trying to get back at people, getting entangled in all sort of mind games. So that could be a negative vices, but the virtues are of divinity, of strong morals, strong ethics. So all sort of goodness which can be found in society, all form of goodness which can be seen in someone's ethics, someone's moral, someone's character, can also be seen with and attached with the condition and the dignity of the ninth house. And along with that, friends, like when we talk about the trine house plays a very important role, as if first house tells about you and your present life, fifth house has to do with your past life. So same way, ninth house has to do with your next life. So whatsoever good deeds you are going to do in this lifetime, it can actually help you in order to elevate your consciousness, elevate your soul level understanding, and in next life it could also help you in the form of higher birth, all sort of gifts and the blessings which could help you. So from that perspective as well, we see the condition and the dignity of the ninth house. Friends, this is also a house of luck and fortune. Like all those people who are able to find the solution of any problem with ease and with grace. And I always say this thing, that luck is nothing, just the flow of grace of the gods. It's the result of your own good merits, or it's the result of all the good seeds in the form of the good deeds which you have done, which reciprocate and fructify in your life in the form of returning the favor to you. So ninth house can also be attached with your fortune, with your luck. Friends, when we talk about the significator or the karaka planet with the ninth house, so that is definitely the planet Jupiter, because Jupiter in itself represents your ethics, wisdom, all sort of religious austerities. And along with that, just because ninth house is also the house of father, so because of which many psychic and astrologer also connect sun as the one of the karaka or the significator planet of the ninth house as well. And friends, when we talk about the connected divisional chart with the ninth house, so that is definitely the D9 chart or the Navamsa chart, which tells about your capacity to remain firm in your path in this lifetime. Friends, the condition and the importance of ninth house is to such an extent that wheresoever your ninth house lord is going to go in your chart, that house can actually remain lucky in receiving the good grace, experiencing good fortune, and where you can actually prosper and flourish in the life. And whichsoever house lord is going to be present in the ninth house, its dignity and its condition is going to give you this idea that what kind of support or what kind of obstacles you are going to experience in order to fulfill your duties and responsibilities in this lifetime, in order to be on your life's goal, purpose and path in this lifetime. So that's very simple. So let's say, for example, for an Aquarius ascendant native, if your 7th house lord becoming a sun, if it is getting debilitated in the 9th house and that debilitation is not getting cancelled, so now this will give us this indication that definitely your matrimonial life is going to keep you distracted from fulfilling your dharma in this lifetime. And if you have to take up another case of a Taurus ascendant native, so if in their case their 7th house lord, which is Mars, if you will find Mars to be exalted in the 9th house, so that is going to give us this indication that definitely matrimonial life is going to add more strength, and it is definitely going to help the native in order to follow his dharma in this lifetime. So that is something, friends, which I wanted to give you a brief idea about the features, about the signification of the 9th house of your chart. Now we will try to understand that what kind of results you can expect if you will find your 9th house lord's placement in different houses of your chart. So friends, if you will find your 9th house lord's placement in the 1st house in your ascendant, that can be seen as a very good sign. Friends, the beauty of our Vedic astrology is that no matter what your ascendant is, the 9th house lord from your ascendant is of a planet which is always friendly with your ascendant. So now friends, what is going to happen over here is that because 9th house represents all sort of goodness, so now that goodness could actually shape up your whole personality. You are definitely going to have this potential and capacity to attract all sort of good advices, good mentorship, all sort of goodness. Any religious austerities, any prayers done by you can actually bring very quick results in your life. You're definitely going to have this potential and capacity that all sort of realization, all sort of wisdom, all sort of epiphanies can actually happen in your life. And friends, like the way our like psychics and the mystics have always seen a correlation of the Purush, which is a spirit, and Prakriti, which is a nature, which can be seen as the Shakti, Shiva and Shakti. So now what is going to happen over here is that definitely good deeds done by you can actually see the results coming in the form that nature, circumstances, omens will always guide you. Now friends, this is the spiritual aspect of this placement. On a material placement, if you want to understand, so definitely all sort of long distance foreign travels, all sort of your interest in different culture, different languages, different belief will help you shape up your personality, will actually enhance your knowledge base, your public image. So from all of those perspectives, the 9th house lord's placement in the 1st house can be seen as a very good sign. And friends, 1st house is something which is like a mirror, that what kind of picture of yours, what kind of impression of yours world get when they look at you. So now with this kind of placement, there is a strong possibility that you will exude this impression of having good mannerism, having good ethics, good morals. So even from all of those perspectives, this placement can be seen as a very good sign. Moving ahead, friends, now if you will find your 9th house lord's placement in the 2nd house, and if that planet is going to be well placed, dignified, and not getting starved and not getting afflicted by any other planetary presence or influence, then this placement can also bring some very good results in the matters of the 2nd house, because 2nd house, which primarily tells about your finances, your earnings, and it also tells about your inculcated virtues, your values. And trust me, what better influence you want, whether in your finances where luck is supporting you, or even in your values where all sort of goodness is guiding you, divinity is guiding you. So friends, this placement is definitely going to bring some very good results. See, 2nd house, which has to do with earning, and when we talk about the signification of the 9th house, so from 9th house we see people engaged in anything to do with religion, anything to do with law, anything to do with philosophy, anything to do with teaching, publishing, languages. So this placement can also give success in these fields, or the source of income could be connected with these fields. But in a nutshell, friend, this placement is actually going to bring some very good energy in the matters of your finances, and it is definitely going to give you this idea that how important is to protect your integrity, your values. And friends, with the kind of divine light which will be coming from your 9th house and influencing your 2nd house of values, it is definitely going to help you evolve and become a more mature and better person with the passage of time, in the form of having a strong fortitude and strong inculcated values. And friends, as you know this thing, that for your 9th house lord to be present in the 2nd house, so that means it has to go 6 places ahead of it. So it all depends on the innate nature of your 9th house lord planet. If your 9th house lord is going to be a planet like Saturn or a planet like Mars, so definitely all of your ethics, all of your morals will be tested. Strong resilience and fortitude needs to be inculcated in order to stay firm in the matters of financial dealing, in the matters of protecting your values in any sort of challenging or in any sort of troubling circumstances or situation. Moving ahead, friends, now if we will find your 9th house lord's placement in the 3rd house, that can be seen as a good placement in this regard, that definitely your true source of strength could become your belief, your religion, or your righteousness, like how much strongly and firmly you are abiding by the dharma. But friends, the wonderful aspect of this placement over here is that whenever there is a 1-7 combination getting formed, or a house lord is going 7 places ahead of it, so generally in these kind of alignment you will find like Saturn or Sun coming face to face, or Saturn or Moon coming face to face, Jupiter, Mercury. So excluding Mars and Venus, in majority of the cases it doesn't form a very harmonious relationship. So now it all comes down to, once your 9th house lord is present in the 3rd house, in which environment and influence it is being placed over there. Because like all those people who become very dogmatic, all those people who always are on a lookout for lucky breaks, so this could also lead someone in that direction as well. But everything has got its pros and cons. The positive side of this placement is that like a native could actually become like a fatherly figure or a paternal figure amongst his younger siblings, or even within his friend circle. He could be seen as a source of strength or a guiding light. And for all those people, friends, who either work with their own skill or who are engaged in any sort of social media, marketing, or 3rd house related prospects like publishing, journalism, content creation, blogging, performing arts, these people can actually get benefited. But the only catch over here is that I always say this thing, when we talk about, friends, art is a penance, art is a worship. So unless and until you are not that much devoted towards your craft, that you actually see divinity in it, trust me, you cannot excel in that. Whenever we talk about all those people like Picasso and all those people who rose to the peak of their chosen field, they become legend, or they are still living with us and being seen as inspiration, living with us as an immortal. That only happened, that kind of success only happened because they actually see divinity. They saw their craft as their religious austerity. So unless and until you're not going to bring that sort of intensity in your craft, you cannot get the best out of the 9th house energy, because this placement is actually creating some very good energy that within your 3rd house related prospects, the support of luck, divinity can actually help you excel in all those areas. Moving ahead, friends, now if you will find your 9th house lord's placement in the 4th house. So friends, as you know this thing, that 4th house, which is the house of your deep emotional state, your inner emotional psyche. So with your 9th house lord's placement in the 4th house, it is definitely going to create this energy that it could make a native very deeply religious, very law abiding, having faith in a higher powers. And along with that, friends, 9th house also represents optimism. It also tells about faith. So it could also make the native deeply very self-driven person who are very inner motivated. From that perspective, this can be seen as a good combination. 4th house, which also tells about your mother. So native might get very good parenting, very good upbringing. Native might have a very inspirational relationship with his mother. Friends, all the 4th house related prospects can actually bloom, and native can actually experience the support of the luck in chasing any of the matters of 4th house. Like all those people who keep on organizing prayers at their house, they keep the holy pictures, posters of all the gods as you are seeing in the background. And along with that, the only vulnerable aspect of this placement over here is that, friends, for your 9th house lord to be present in the 4th house, it has to go 8 places ahead of it. And whenever there is a 8 combination, 6-8 combination getting formed, it keeps on bringing lot many transformation as well. So now with this kind of alignment, there has to be firmness in native's belief. Otherwise, if life is going to test the native or basis his or her own karma, whatsoever experience which are going to come in the life of the native, it might always keep on shaking up the belief of the native. So from that aspect, this placement could be seen as little bit vulnerable. But apart from that, friends, with this kind of placement, the good part over here is that, see, 4th house tells about our matters of security, stability. If you will find 4th house to be afflicted, these are among those people who actually panic a lot or become very anxious very easily. Now with your 9th house lord's placement in the 4th house, all of your domestic life matters could actually be divine protected. So from all of those perspectives, this placement can actually be seen as a very good energy. Moving ahead, friends, now if you will find your 9th house lord's placement in the 5th house, so that can be seen as a very fortunate combination. Even from the Bhavat Bhavam concept, for your 9th house lord to be present in the 5th house, that means it has to go 9 places ahead of it. So now what is going to happen over here is that the best of the merits of the 9th house will be experienced in the 5th house. Now which could happen in the form of, first of all, as 5th house tells about your thinking process, your intellect, your mind. So what could be the biggest and the best of the grace of the gods which you can experience in the life, other than having a good writer's mind? Friends, our life only falls apart when we start working or behaving on the thoughts of vices, greed, lust, envy. So now what is going to happen with this placement is that native's thought process, his mind is definitely going to be well guarded, well protected by the divinity. Along with that, friends, like 5th house, which also tells about your artistic creative pursuit, your education, this is a prime house of children. So native might also remain lucky in experiencing good fortune in the form of getting a very righteous progeny, excelling in his or her education. And if in native's case, like if in any way art or creativity is going to get qualified in native's case, he can also excel in his craft, he can actually become an inspiration for so many people. So with that perspective, this placement of 9th house Lord's placement in the 5th house is creating a very good energy. Like all those people who take up the form of bhakti yoga, or who actually get very much devoted to the gods. Because friends, the only difference between the 5th house and the 9th house energies is that 9th house is the house of religion, 5th house is the house of doing yoga, doing meditation, being attuned to your soul towards spirituality. And friends, with this kind of placement where the 9th house energy is influencing the 5th house, native is definitely going to be very much devoted towards his Ishta Devta. Whatsoever god, religion or belief native has firm faith, native is definitely going to put his whole energy in that pursuit. Moving ahead friends, now if we will find your 9th house Lord's placement in the 6th house, so friends, this placement needs to be taken with a pinch of salt. Because on a superficial level, you might get this idea that, oh my god, my 9th house Lord has gone to a house of difficulty, a Dushtana house, a house of suffering, so I'm not going to get good results of all of my religious austerities, which is not true. Because for your 9th house Lord to be present in the 6th house, that means it has gone 10 places ahead of it. And friends, 9th house is the house of divinity, of the gods. And do you actually think that gods could be biased to us, or could be like unfair to us? Like for example, in my case, throughout my life, I have only worshipped Lord Shiva with unrelenting faith. And the only thing right from my childhood days which attracted me towards Lord Shiva was that he has been portrayed in such a innocent light, that he has always remain very innocent, quick to please, and no matter what sort of energy is worshipping him, whether demons, whether spirits, any macabre, any ghost, or in whichsoever form, even in whichsoever way of religious austerity, whether sattvic, rajasic or tamasic, he has only seen the devotion within your heart, and he has always remained more than eager and willing to help you get rid of all of your suffering. So now what I am trying to say over here is that just because your 9th house Lord has gone 10 places ahead of it, so it is going to help you in order to deal with the challenges of this 6th house. 6th house, which is the house of debts, which is the house of competition, your daily work life. So any sort of religious austerities done by you could be seen as the panacea, as the remedy to help with the matters of the 6th house, the challenges of the 6th house. For any other individual, he might have to experience delays in experiencing the divine or divine help. Like you are going through all sort of suffering and you are crying out loud for divine intervention to help you, to guide you. But for someone who has got his 9th house Lord's placement in the 6th house, in his case, because friends, whenever you will do any pilgrimage, whenever you will do any sort of religious austerities, or even your devotion towards your guru, it is going to get activated as per the map with which you are born. So your map is that your 9th house is straight away connected with the 6th house. So the results will fructify straight first on the 6th house. So what I am trying to say over here is that any sort of suffering of the 6th house in the form of diseases, in the form of the death, can be overcome with your religious austerity. The second way to look at this placement is that friends, 6th house also tells about your daily work life, your professional attitude. So with this kind of placement, I have also seen all those kind of people who do their daily duty with a kind of religious attitude, like the way we say dharma karma pati yog. All those people who do their daily duties, like you're going to work, the moment or before you will start your daily work hours, you will first pray to Lord that God, I am actually devoting and surrendering myself to you, and I am just a medium and you only will guide me to do my duties today. So that kind of approach, that kind of surrender, that kind of devotion could be experienced in someone's daily work life. So from all of those perspectives, this placement is actually creating some very good energy. Moving ahead friends, now if we will find your 9th house Lord's placement in the 7th house, that can be seen as a very good combination. Because friends, to begin with, like all the ninth house related good fortune, flow of grace will be experienced in the matters of seventh house, which is a very important house. This house decides our overall outlook and attitude towards the world. This is the house of our public image. This is the house of commercial activities, of our matrimonial life. So this placement, if you will find your ninth house lord to be dignified, well placed in the seventh house. Because friends, for your ninth house lord to be present in the seventh house, that means it has to go 11 places ahead of it. So all of your religious austerities, the gain of that is going to be experienced in the seventh house in the form of getting a good partner, getting a good spouse, and flourishing in your business and your public image, which is always going to be well protected, well guarded, and you will always have a very graceful, very philanthropic, all encompassing way of looking at world. So from all of those perspectives, this placement can be seen as very favorable, very conducive. Even friends, when we talk about experiencing a lot, exploring a lot of foreign travels, and the good advisory and counseling powers can also be seen, can be foreseen with this kind of placement of your ninth house lord in your seventh house. Moving ahead friends, now if you will find your ninth house lord's placement in the eighth house. So friends, it is a little bit sensitive placement in this regard that eighth house is a house of secrecy, and for your ninth house lord to be present in the eighth house, that means it has to go 12 places ahead of it. So because of which this placement is actually creating very sensitive, very volatile energy over here. Native will be devoted to gods, but there is definitely a secrecy involved in it. Native might also like to experience all the esoteric sciences, like interest in tantra, interest in kundalini yoga. So all those things can be foreseen with this kind of placement, and that all those possibilities will be enhanced more if you will find the influence of Saturn or the influence of Ketu coming in the 8th house with your 9th house lord. Friends, this placement is not a very conducive placement to take lot of risk or having your your engagement in all sort of underhanded activities. Now what is going to happen with this is that, see, 12 places to any planet is the loss of that. So let's say for example, if you are engaged in any sort of controversial activities, underhanded activities, trying to harm people, trying to scam people, so you might be getting protected because of the karma or the merits of your good deeds done in the past lifetime. But everything has got a store of it, everything has got a capacity of it. The day you will run out of all of your good merits protecting you, and you will start inculcating or creating new karma, new energy. So your 9th house related matters might not be able to protect you and could take you deep in the 8th house related scandals, 8th house related controversies. So with this kind of placement, I will always say this thing, that you should have a realistic approach in the life. You should not be overly involved in any underhanded activities. You should not be believing in lucky breaks, uncalculated plannings, and try not to experiment a lot in the darker side of the life, darker side of the worship, or the left hand path of the god without the guidance of a right mentor or a right advisor. And friends, with this kind of placement, it also makes someone vulnerable in this regard, that whenever we talk about the condition of the 9th house, it tells about the state and quality and the intention of the advisors or the guru which we will get in our life. Now we all know that even in this holy field, there are 90% of the genuine people, holy divine incarnated beings, but even there are 10% of charlatans, scams and fraud as well, who encash on people's faith, who exploit people's innocent faith. So now with this kind of placement, it is always advisable that you should remain cautious that what kind of advisors, what kind of mentors you are inviting in your life, what kind of teachings, what kind of guru you are attracted towards. That is definitely going to be always questionable. And friends, when we talk about the 8th house related matters in the form of insurance, revenue, research, exploration, so for someone who has completely devoted himself unconditionally towards sadhana, like someone who has completely devoted himself for getting siddhya or for any sort of 8th house related psychic, esoteric or research exploration matters, so in all those areas native can still get benefited because of his 9th house lord's placement in the 8th house. Moving ahead friends, now if you will find your 9th house lord's placement in the 9th house, so that can be seen as a very fortunate combination, which is going to give us this indication that your 9th house is so enhanced, so prominently placed that you do not have to go anywhere else. Whatsoever you want to achieve, divine is always looking for you, always waiting for you. Any religious austerities done by you can actually reap and give some very good results. Along with that, the support of luck and fortune is definitely going to help you. And friends, on the basis of the 9th house lord, you will get an idea that what is the kind of and the mode of worship which you have to follow. So for someone like who has got a 9th house lord to be Saturn, well guarded, well placed over there, so like doing fasting might be expected out of you. When we talk about Jupiter, so being very much devoted to people of religious and spiritual significance. When we talk about Mercury, like reading all the holy scriptures. When we talk about Venus, making use of your finances to do some charities, charitable gestures. So it all comes down to understanding the essence of your 9th house lord planet and approaching the gods, approaching the divinity from the same route is definitely going to help you. And friends, all the 9th house related matters, like definitely native will flourish from any sort of travels. Native might have higher wisdom, higher qualifications. Native might get good advisors, good mentors in his life. So from all of those perspectives, the 9th house lord's placement in the 9th house can be seen as a very good combination. Moving ahead friends, now if you will find your 9th house lord's placement in the 10th house, so it is a little bit sensitive placement in this regard, that as you know that friends, in the original Kalpurush Kundli, 9th house belongs to the Sagittarius sign, to Jupiter, and Jupiter goes debilitation immediately in the next house, which is going to give us this indication that you always have to remain cautious in making a fine balance between your dharma and your karma. Fulfilling your duties and responsibilities in this lifetime should not take a toll with establishing a connection and maintaining a connection with the devtas, with the gods, with your religious austerities. So now friends, with this kind of placement, the good part about this placement over here is that only barring the Mercury and the Jupiterian signs over here, this placement is creating good energy in this regard that the support of luck, fortune and grace could actually help the native in fulfilling his duties and responsibilities in this lifetime, and it might also help the native attaining like a powerful position, getting authority, getting status, getting fame prospects. So in that regard, this placement can actually create some very good energy. So now it all comes down to how native is going to utilize all of these fortune or flow of grace, which is going to be influencing his 10th house. So let's say for example, if native is not going to utilize these energies in a good way, native might opt for all sort of vices in order to climb the ladder of success in life, then in those kind of circumstances it might later on create some sort of obstacles. But apart from that friends, in a general mundane or a materialistic way, this placement can be seen as good in this regard that your nature of work might entail counseling people, might entail or involve lot of foreign travels, dealing with people of different culture, different belief. So from all of those perspective, this placement can still be seen as a good placement for your 9th house Lord planet to be present in. Moving ahead, friends, now if you will find your 9th house Lord's placement in the 11th house, so that can be seen as one of the most fortunate placement, because friends, 11th house is the house of your wishes. So now this is creating that energy that whatsoever religious austerities you're going to perform, by keeping any wish in your mind, that can actually fructify. Along with that, friends, 11th house is also the house of group activities. So you might be interested in becoming a part of good spiritual organizations, and hobnobbing or meeting all of your same guru shishya, like all those people who become very close friends with the fellow disciple of the same guru or the same cause they are following. So from all of those perspective, and friends, 9th house has got lot of wisdom to offer. But when we talk about your capacity to learn, so that is always attached with the air houses. So now with your 9th house Lord's placement in the 11th house, it is kind of creating that energy that 9th house is ready and willing to offer its wisdom and knowledge to you, and you also have the capacity to imbibe and absorb all of that knowledge. So from all of that perspective, whether from knowledge, spiritual, material, for any sort of accomplishment perspective, this placement of your 9th house in the 9th house Lord in the 11th house can be seen as a very good energy. And last, friends, if you will find your 9th house Lord's placement in the 12th house, so that can be seen as a very fortunate combination, because friends, 9th house tells about divinity. It is the house of the gods, and if you want to know about the dwelling of the gods, the residence of the gods, or the house of moksha, liberation, so for that you have to go 4 places ahead of it, which is going to take you to the 12th house. So your 9th house Lord's placement in the 12th house can be seen as a fortunate combination in this regard, that native is definitely going to be very intense in his religious austerities. When we talk about your capacity to surrender and capacity to be unconditionally devoted to your gods in your religious path, come what may, your devotion and your belief in the divinity, in the gods, is very firm. So that can also be seen as one of the probable result of your 9th house Lord's placement in the 12th house. And apart from that, friends, like all those people who just with their this desire, their this quest to be close to their Ishta Devta, their chosen God, or to be close to their guru, they even travel to foreign land, they live in ashram, in monasteries, and gain the true transcendental wisdom and knowledge, being away from the world. So even from all of that perspective, this placement is creating some very good energy. It all comes down to in which dignity your 9th house Lord is present in the 12th house, and in which influence it is being present over there in the 12th house. And friends, from the materialistic perspective, definitely this placement indicates lot of foreign travels. Native might have his higher qualifications in some foreign university, in some foreign land. So even from all of those perspective, this placement can be seen as a good placement. So that is something, friends, which I wanted to say as a part of the importance of the 9th house, and in which direction fortune can be found in your life. For further more updates and notifications on the divine science of astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Thank you.